To get back in here.
Oh, we're again live.
Yes, we're back.
Hey, so it's entirely our fault.
Yeah.
The extension whacked the computer and killed it for some reason.
Right.
So.
By the way, just for the record, that's not. I would never drink a light beer ever under any circumstances. It's not mine, because people are gonna start sending me beer. They're gonna be like,
"Oh, really?
Here's some PBR. Here's some light." And like, no, don't send this to me. I only drink the dark, heavy stuff.
I gotta drink light beer. I'm diabetic.
Okay. So let's let the people get back in here.
Okay, we're gonna go back to demonstration mode here in a second.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it until we got.
we were on a roll too.
Okay. Bud Light gives you migraine. I can't drink any light beer. If light can pass through a beer, no good.
Well, I used to be an IPA. I don't know if I ever told you, I brewed my own beer.
So that's one of the things I'm thinking about doing over at the shop.
Oh, really?
I want to do an imperial stout.
Well, I've done them all. I for about 4 years did them, and I loved them. But it was cool. I didn't mind that it took 2 weeks to make a beer. But man, when you got beer made, you had a lot of beer.
Need a stout, yes. PBR, no. All right.
We kicked a rod.
Yeah, we literally threw a rod, all right, into the computer, into the laptop here, and it killed the connection. All right. So what we were in the process of doing just now was making a demonstration of rod ratio, okay, and how even though it'll show the same number on the dyno, right, you're going to have two completely different effects on the engine, all right. So let's go back to this. In case you guys missed the first part of it.
Here, I got an idea. Why don't we hold it like that?
Yeah, that's it. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So the can represents the crankshaft at top dead center. Okay. So let's pretend it's number one cylinder. This is the journal, top dead center. Okay. This is a short connecting rod. This is a long connecting rod. Okay. So all else being equal, the same number of degrees past top dead center will give you lean on the rod. Okay, so now let's pretend here. This is very slippery. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I wiped it off once. Wipe it off again. All right.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? We could just put it right there. Yeah, put it right on that.
Okay, and then I'll get smart about this whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, because that was very slippery. All right. So top dead center. Okay. And now let's pretend that this is about 15 degrees past top dead center, which is like the meat of the power stroke, all right? So now my hand is the piston, okay? 15 degrees past, my hand is the piston. How hard do I have to push down on the rod to rotate the crank, right? I've got to use a substantial amount of force. Okay, you can see the lean, all right? And I'm pushing down. That's how far I got to go with that. Now, if we take the same situation, the same number of degrees past top dead center, because here's our, right, and we use a short rod, how hard do I have to push on this to get the can to move?
Not hard.
Right? I mean, literally, it's like no weight at all. All I have to do is here, watch. Here's a perfect demonstration. Now, this wants to rotate.
The can just sitting on it.
The can just sitting on it, right? And this one doesn't. Okay? And there is the difference between long rod and short rod. Bumpstick says I'm doing it.
I think it worked out pretty good.
Unity Motorsports says long rod versus short has a lot to do with the airflow of the heads. And that's true. That's true. Because of the piston speed away from top dead center with the intake valve open is going to have a different effect on the incoming pulse. The shorter rod gives you more piston speed, gives you a stronger pulse in the runner.
And the bigger valve allows it to happen quicker, right? Because when you have a shorter rod, isn't your dwell time shorter, but the piston speed is higher?
Yeah, it's fewer degrees of dwell.
Right.
but the piston speed is slower.
It would have to be, no, it would have to be faster because
With a
you're
long rod?
with the short rod.
Oh, with a short rod, yeah, no, you have fewer degrees of dwell.
Right. It sits at the top less, but it moves faster
moves
at
faster.
initial movement
Right.
and an initial stop.
Right. But again, you see, this won't show up on a dyno. Right? This effect right here won't show up on a dyno. Whoop. And again, it's leaned over the same degrees, so we're talking about the same amount of crankshaft rotation past top 10 crank. And in this case, just the weight of the rod wants to rotate the crank. In this case, the weight of the rod is just holding the crank steady. One of them is going to give a harder push in the direction of rotation.
That actually changes something else that probably nobody was thinking of then, if that's the case. Because that would mean a longer rod has less effect with weight, right? And it's more inertia based because it would weigh more than your short rod, right? So weight actually becomes less of a factor on it.
I don't know if that makes a difference when it's rotating. When it's really moving, I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference.
Well, it would have to, because look, this rod weighs more, right?
Yeah, but
this is and you can almost balance it up here. But then you put the shorter rod, which is lighter, and it has the same angle.
Yes. Okay, I understand what you're saying. You're right. You're right. You're right. All right. So Dakota's saying, so can you say you always want a shorter rod? No. No, if you're building a higher RPM engine, see what happened, the biggest problem with a short rod motor is that the piston begins to outrun the flame front. And so as the piston starts to outrun the flame front at higher RPM, the pressure pulse becomes shorter. The actual duration of the pressure pulse becomes shorter and shorter, which is the downfall of a short rod motor. So at higher RPM, let's say over 5,000 RPM, if your target power goals are like say between like or over 5,000, 6,000 RPM, then you definitely want a longer rod. If you're running for a sustained, and again, like it's shown on a dyno is almost like a consistent pull of the engine. If you're running up into it, you need the leverage. And that's why I'm speculating, why is it that on a dyno, the difference in rod ratio doesn't show up, but it does show up. Where's that Buick rod? The piston and rod you showed me.
Piston and rod. When?
It was one of the older ones. Maybe in that box. It had the pin really far down.
Oh yeah, that's all of them.
Yeah.
Is it like tractor piston, like I was telling you? That 455 or the? Oh, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. This one. Small bore, short rod.
Yeah. Look at here's a Buick piston. Look how far down the pin is in that thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's designed for torque. You know, when the engineers wanted an engine to give you that instant, like effortless, going to just move the car without any effort, they went with a short rod combination.
That's a 300 Buick. So it's like the V6's big brother.
All right. Who are? Okay. Los Cadabra has 1,700 hours logged servicing farm equipment on a dyno. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, sitting in front of a farm equipment dyno. You know, so I was thinking about your idea where you were talking about whacking dyno, right? All right. What if you could build a dyno? You know, a dyno is essentially just a water break, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we discard the water part
and
hook it up to essentially a hydrostatic transmission, like let's just say, like a pump assembly off of like a Turbo 400.
Okay.
And a converter, right? You had your regular converter, but it's like a low stall factory style converter.
Okay.
And then all you're doing is spinning the pump, and you don't have a bypass pressure on it, right? So it just spins the pump at a certain RPM, and it builds pressure. That pressure would equal your force. Then you could build a continuous curve off of that, because you just have to have a data rate sample.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
As the curve's going up, it's just sampling as the pressure builds. And it'll tell you that entire thing, because see, some engines will build that pressure quicker. Some engines will build it, slower. Like you get a soggy bottom end 302 Ford, right? You just change a cam and intake on a 302 Ford and the sucker's gutless, right? But man, does it make some mid-range killer power. But when you put it on a dyno, that's the numbers everybody's looking at. It's 2,500 RPM on up.
Right.
You try to drive it, it's like your kid's push buggy when they're like little kids, right? So, but it would show up in that situation because you just got a converter that's tighter than hell, and then you're just building pressure throughout the entire band.
I don't know how you would go about doing it. I mean, that might be one way. I don't know. I really got to like sit and focus and think about that. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's not that and I said it in the video. And for anybody who might be interested in this, right? I have to say something in response to something else. I'll just say this. I am only responsible for what I say. I am not responsible for what you hear. So, keep that in mind, whoever that may apply to. I'm only responsible for what I say, and what I say is on video. You can go back and see what I say, and you can see exactly what I say. What you hear, well, that's on you. So, but again, that's what got me started on this whole thing, was that video about the difference in rod ratio, and they didn't find a difference. You know what I mean? And this demonstration right here shows exactly the difference.
Right, and I think one thing that we're not looking at is like where you were saying as a combination as a whole. When you do a chassis dyno, you're looking at the combination almost as a whole, right? But when you take like let's say, you remember modified production, they used to run small cubic inch motors, big bore, short stroke with big breathable heads, right? And they had to be just gutless below 4,500.
Yeah, right? 7,000, 8,000 RPM launches.
Right.
Actually, the smaller motors, 10, 11,000 RPM.
Right, but what did they used to do to make up that difference? So it being soggy on the bottom end, they put a 50-pound flywheel on.
Yeah.
Right?
That was one of the things.
And so you're using inertia to build torque. And I think that's kind of like, that would help in those soggy bottom end situations. Automatic transmission, that's where you have the loose converter. The fridge has a tiny AHR decal. Oh, I did see that. It came in a remake of a 69 Barracuda model kit. Okay, well, I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was a real garage first. There. All right. So did everybody catch that demonstration, I guess?
I think so.
I hope so.
Wayne Ferguson had 180%. I guess you mean 180 degrees. Piston orientation. Wouldn't pin offset be less angle at 15 degrees after top dead center? Offset be
probably pin offset. Pin offset maybe is what he's going for.
Yeah, but I'm not really following that line.
Oh, what he's saying?
Yeah. Okay. French Onion, did you see Richard's last live stream responded to your video? I did.
Oh.
I did. I think it was cute.
Oh, what did he do? What did he say? I didn't see it.
Well, he said
Rich Holdner?
Yeah. He said, right, that I don't believe in dynos.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
Richard Holdner said he don't believe
in
dynos.
He says that I don't believe in dynos.
Oh.
Right. And I never said that.
Oh, yeah, no, you said at the beginning that you
I said in the beginning, if I had a dyno, you would be able to get me off of it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the only measurement tool that we technically have, right?
And I will have a dyno eventually. I don't want to say when, but definitely that's in the future for the new shop.
Well, I think, the drag strip is the true dyno.
Yeah, but it's not always practical to get it out to a drag strip.
No, and it's all weather dependent, it's all traction dependent.
Right.
It's
hard to test at a drag strip unless you're renting for test and tune. You know what I mean? Like a private rental.
Right.
It's really hard to do testing at the track. So just for the sake of, because we're not in the business of building race cars, we're in the business of making videos. So, so it doesn't pay for us to actually spend all that time at the track when we can accomplish the same result in the shop.
And I spend all that time at the track. Unfortunately, it's and not making videos. I guess I shouldn't say unfortunately. I love being at the track, but I definitely don't like sitting and watching everybody else race. Oh, it's like it's like a crackhead who can't smoke crack, right? Like, oh my God, you're watching everybody else make passes down the track, and here I can't.
I can't anymore. I spent years, literally years, where 7 days and nights a week I was either street racing someplace or at a drag strip. 7 days and nights a week for years.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I don't want to do that anymore. I did it.
Well, I was the opposite. See, I was on a Navy ship forever.
Right.
And I used to read magazines, and that was the thing. Like, I don't know how guys are doing it today because there is no magazines. Right. But I used to read and live and die by them things. I'd read them 1,000 times. And you can ask anybody that was on a ship with me. I read them things from cover to cover at least 100 times before I'd even put them away. So.
But anyway, just to clarify, I never said that I don't believe in dynos. I'm fine with dynos. I like dynos. What I said was certain things, certain concepts are not going to make themselves apparent on a dyno because of the way a dyno operates.
Somebody said I got Bud Light pints. I got a tall boy. That way I'll have to get one. I didn't know Tony didn't like real beer.
That's not real beer.
I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. I got to drink it because I'm diabetic. I'll be freaking dead if I drink a bunch of them IPAs that I used to love. All right.
Doug Dunn says he lived for CarMag Tech articles. That's all I did. I was a technical editor for, going back to the 80s, I was a technical editor for that High Performance Pontiac muscle car. Cars Illustrated. Did I say High Performance Pontiac?
You did?
Yes.
Muscle Car Review or just
No, not Muscle Car Review, Muscle Cars.
I remember Muscle Car.
Which was the first muscle car magazine in the market. And Mopar, High Performance Mopar. So I was the technical editor for all of those magazines. And then, God, I was tech editor on probably 10 different titles.
Michael Anderson's asking you, do you have a favorite big block Mopar head?
Not really. Not really.
Not the Hemi?
No, definitely not the Hemi.
No.
John Wilbur wants to know what ships you served on.
Oh, my first one was USS Vincennes, which was the CG. My second one was USS Thomas S. Gates, which was a CG. It was CG 53. After that, I went to USS Boone, USS Taylor in Mayport, Florida. And then in between there, I had some jaunts on a couple small, those frigates, the last two I was on was frigates. So Taylor and Boone. And then Cromlin, I did some time on. Chung Hoon, I did some time on, but I was never really stationed on them. I was at the Desron, so I had to assess them.
Dakota says, "Can you all give a shout out to my mom? It's her birthday." I don't remember your mom's name, Dakota. I'm so sorry. It's stuck. But she is a true jewel of a woman. She's beautiful, awesome. You've got an awesome mom there, man.
Especially if she doesn't give you any timeouts. When will the '63 Buick premiere in a Sega?
Amanda, that was it. I'm sorry, Amanda. Happy birthday, Amanda. Say happy birthday to Amanda.
Happy birthday, Amanda. But I won't have the '63 Buick at a Sega event probably this year. I was busting my butt trying to make it there, but everything keeps coming up, and I go one step forward, 2 steps back. So.
Steve Baiko, name you go by when you wrote all that, Tony? My name, Tony DeFeo. Let's see. The gas cap says, "Thank you for your service."
Oh, not a problem. You're welcome.
Okay.
I just don't know what the kids do today that are be on the ships. I mean, one, they're probably not into cars anymore, but they don't get magazines. There's no car magazines. There's no car rags at all.
I know.
It's like, what
they got YouTube.
left?
They're watching us right now. They're on a boat someplace watching us.
Yeah. I doubt that.
Yeah.
We had internet. It was like an abacus. You literally could not do anything on it.
Monty Capoletti, can they read? Sometimes.
Why would he ask that? If you're a tech editor, you had to be able to read it. No, I'm kidding. I know he's just joking around, but
actually, that's how I became a writer.
Oh, was reading that stuff?
What happened was they used to pick. Okay, so CSK, which was the publishing company I started working for, they hired me as a technical editor. So what they would do is they would pile up all of these manuscripts. and I had to read through the manuscripts and fact check and go through all that. So I found myself rewriting so much of what they had handed in, making so many changes and everything else. I said, it's just easier if I do it myself. So I taught myself how to type, which I still don't know how to type, but and that's how I became a writer.
Oh, Hot Rod is coming back?
No, Hot Rod is not coming back. Hot Rod is like, it's done.
Big HRA Benner for the new shop. Is it bigger? Do we need one bigger than that? Does he need one bigger than this for the new shop? I mean, I know the new shop is ginormous, so would it need a ginormous sign?
We'll work it out.
All right. Best sticky tires for a 440 pack 70 Challenger. Is it stick shift?
Jesse McMaw. I can't pronounce terrible names. All right, High Performance Pontiac Magazine. You've got my attention. I did High Performance Pontiac for 3 years. I was like a regular at Nunzi Romano's shop. That was like I was in and out of there all the time.
This guy said he has a late model, or not late model. Yeah, late model F body 77 Formula 400. How to make power without losing originality. Pistons and compression in that sucker.
Yeah,
77, they're low.
Yeah,
right. They're like 7.6.
Yeah, you want some squeeze in there. I mean, heads. Import the ones you've got, or find a better set of heads for the thing.
But that Formula was probably my favorite Firebird.
Buff Del Campo. Buff Del Campo was at the shop today. He's working on Office Del Campo. He has his own office there.
He has his own office.
He has his own office. So he's getting that all set up. So he's going back. He's going to be gone for a couple of months. He's going back to do his secret work back in engineering alien aircraft for the government.
Okay.
The secret government.
Right.
Right. And then he'll be back in a couple of months. But he's got Office Del Campo. Get in the works. And Dakota, we didn't forget about you. You got your own space in it too, brother man.
He's got the closet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, before he gets timed out.
Let's see. Mike Clark. Hey, fellas, seem to have an issue with points closing up on a 225. Points have a Bakelite style rubbing block. Runs like a dream. Eventually runs rough, then doesn't open the points. Runs great again. So you're saying that even with the Bakelite, is it possible that the cam on that distributor might be pitted?
You know what? I'm kind of wondering if the bearing is worn out or the bushing is worn out in that distributor, and maybe the distributor's slopping.
It's possible. That's possible.
Because I can't see there. It's a mechanical thing. If it opens them once, it should continue to open it again unless the tolerance has changed. Let's see. Well, I used to love mags. The magazines. I didn't matter what it was. Really, we pull on a port. They didn't have the one I wanted. I'd buy the one next to it. It don't matter. So, I really didn't have any allegiance to hot rod magazines. It was more or less just whatever caught my interest. And I'll tell you that a lot of the stuff that caught my interest, especially from the 90s, was Steve Maniante stuff. He always used he was just like me, and kind of junkyard stuff, but like outside the box.
I love his show, Junkyard Gold. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He did an article I'll never forget where they built a duster, had a 318 in it. How much nitrous will it handle? And he sprayed the sucker till the rods came out of the pan, right? And he just kept upping it every pass. And he said when he got up to about 250 shot, that 318 sounded like a freaking animal.
Sure.
Right?
I'm sure. Okay.
Pistol grip 4-speed. Okay, best street sticky tires. So paw print Pitbull 446 pack pistol grip 4-speed. What's the best sticky tires for that? For the street?
Yeah, I guess he's thinking for the street.
Man, well, you need generally on a street car or on a stick shift car, you want a little bit stiffer sidewall. I bet you a drag radial would be pretty good on that.
Probably.
Especially.
I think he may be looking for a brand.
Oh.
I think he's looking for a brand.
I guess the big one right now that everybody's digging on is like the Mickey Thompson. Mickey Thompson has a really bitchin' drag radial.
67 Fish says, hey, Dallas.
Dallas here. Oh, he must be named Dallas.
Am I smoking 420? No, it's Bugler tobacco. I've always rolled my own cigarettes.
And then he's going to brew his own beer.
Dirtner, watch the dyno video. Mustang with a double X pipe exhaust. Of course, manufacturer says makes massive power. Probably just change the sound. What's your opinion? I don't see how that could possibly make any difference at all. A single X pipe or an H pipe, yes, absolutely. But a double X, no. I mean that makes no sense.
It'll eventually hit a wall where the scavenging
Yeah.
effect won't work any better than what it did initially.
Yeah.
You're going to have the biggest hit at the first one, at the very first X. I mean, headers are already scavenging as it is.
Well, it's redundant. The second X is redundant. You know,
Right. I don't see how it would work. It would meet the point of where, I mean, because especially if it had headers in an X pipe, that's a lot of scavenging, right? And that's where you make your power at. It pulls the exhaust out. I want a hot rod. What should I buy? Oh, that's such a broad question. That's French Onions asking, I want a hot rod. What should I buy?
Oh man.
Tony's going to tell you get a Mopar.
No, I'm not. I mean, for my money, I would say the entry level of each and some form of Fox body.
No, I can see that. There's a ton of parts available for them. I'll tell you what, the best Fox body is probably like one I got, T-Bird or a Cougar. Fairmont used to be the ticket for one of them too, because that was the lightest one out of all. And you could make pretty decent power, and that car would feel really fast.
Well, Fairmont's got more overhang too.
Right.
It's got a higher roof, which is good for weight transfer.
Right.
Right. And it's got more overhang in the back. So I would say the Fairmont would definitely be superior to a Mustang.
Well, plus there were some really badass looking Pro Stocks back in the day. They really were. Fairmonts.
Let's see. I have 68 Dodge. There's Jerome Williams. I have a 68 Dodge Dart, building a 318, 302 heads, 509 purple shift. Should I go with Magnum heads or stay with the 302 ported heads? Magnum, definitely. The 302, I mean, well, how ported are the 302 heads?
If it's just a home port job.
Yeah, well, I mean, those heads, they're not as good as I would. If you haven't invested a whole bunch into those 302s, I would definitely say go with the Magnum.
Chris Greenway, my email is dallas@ahraonline.com. Let's see.
Michael Anderson, Tony, is there a difference between the shifters on 833 overdrive versus non-overdrive? No, the shifter and the linkage is exactly the same. The only difference is the third, fourth,
Aren't they swapped inside?
Inside the shifter.
Right, inside the training.
Inside the training. The only difference in the shifters between the regular and the overdrive is on the overdrive, the 3/4 lever, right, is flipped. So if you're looking at the side of the transmission, okay, the first and second rod goes like this, and then the third, fourth rod goes like this. That's the only difference.
Because I think overdrive on those is third gear, right? And fourth gear is what used to be the third. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, third is now high gear, and fourth is overdrive.
Okay.
Bob Gangshaw, Cars Illustrated. Tony, I remember that pic of you in shades with the reflection of the Christmas tree in the shades. Great mix. I miss that magazine. I really do. Michael Anderson, I just answered that question about the 833 shifters.
Any good Mopar convertibles out there? Oh, man. You know what? I did send Tony a message today. I found that 66
Oh, yeah. No. I
Belvedere.
want to hear about it. I want to know about it. I've got.
Oh, I know, but it was like,
or
was it 67 Belvedere?
66.
Oh, God, it's still the best looking roof line ever made.
I know. Let's see. Deep Junk Garage pushing. This is one for you for sure. Pushing rocker stud pulled out on a 69 Windsor Ford. Factory push rods and rockers with new replacement valve springs, replacement cam, and lifter summer hydraulic. Am I missing anything? Pushing rocker stud pulled
it's
out.
press and stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to thread them and then put threaded studs in them.
I'll tell you what I used to do on the Chevys,
Uh-huh.
right? You drill a small hole.
Oh, you could pin them, I guess.
I would drill a small hole and use a needle bearing out of a U-joint.
Oh, yeah.
You take the U-joint, you know, the rollers and the U-joint.
Right.
I used to drill the hole in the Chevy rocker stand into the stud and then drop one of those in.
And just pin it in place.
That's it. That's the pin.
That's good. Because that pin is hard as a coffin nail.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've always seen where, well, especially if they're out, you can get the pressing ones out pretty easy, actually.
Well, that's the problem. They come out on their own after a while.
Well, you just run a tap down in there, don't you? And then tap them and
yeah, absolutely. But just to save time, to save effort, and if it's only one that.
Oh yeah, just knock it back in.
Knock it back in, drill it, and drop one of those rollers in there, and then she's done. Oh, Wayne Ferguson, wouldn't stock piston pin offset angle harder at 15 degrees after top dead center than 180 oriented? Offset. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking me.
I thought you were going to cry chop the computer again.
No, when you reverse the offset, you're putting the rod you're putting the rod directly over a couple of degrees past top dead, so that when the piston hits, when the pulse hits, the crank is already
lean one way.
Right. So you're eating
smacking
things
it down.
You're smacking exactly. So the way the factory offset would have it, right, like this. Okay, I hope I'm doing this oriented right. Okay, a couple of degrees past top dead center, and you're dead straight like this. The power pulse is pushing down on the crank when there's no place to push down. But when you offset it, you've already got it like this. Now the rod is straight up and down as it starts to come down. So you're lining everything up in the direction of rotation.
So this guy's asking, I have an 85 IROC Z original 5-speed. Water ran through the carb over the winter. Engine is now stuck. Think I can get away with a good clean in rings? Well, that's all dependent upon you. Got to take it apart. If it got water in there and it froze this winter, you're probably looking at a new motor. But if it's just rusty, you can probably ball hone that sucker, or even just use the 3-course hone or the 3-course stone hone, and then put it back together with some rings and bearings.
Zeus times 2120. How much should someone pay for a fairly good condition first-gen charger? I found one for sale. It's been sitting outside for $10,000. Is that too much? Yeah. Depends on the car, man.
That's pretty high.
Well,
if it's sitting outside,
it depends on the condition of the hard parts, the dashboard. Because the car has a lot of really unique stuff. 10,000 maybe on the high side, but again, see, I don't know it. Every car is different. I really can't give you Katrina, just popping in. Well, thank you for watching the videos, and thank you for popping in.
We got a stock 87 W150 318. When I first started up, to probably 160, runs perfect. After that, it floods. What would make it flood? Is it carbureted? Is 87 carbureted?
Yeah, it's the last year for the carburation.
It would have had a quad jet on it, huh?
Yes.
So your pull off is bad, or your choke assembly is bad. It should be electric choke, right? So the heating element might not be working in there.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, is the choke opening, or is it just flooding over? That's a good question. It could also be leaking through the well plugs, where when the engine is cold, that extra gas is welcome, and then once it warms up, it just goes dead fat and it'll stall.
Yeah, the later ones aren't that bad.
Good night, Capri.
It's the earlier ones that are real bad, but yes, the well plugs do leak on the quad jet.
Unity's checking out. Good night, brother, man. Oh, he says it's throttle body.
Oh, your engine coolant temperature sensor is bad, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. Coolant temp sensor.
87 was last year for 2-barrel on the 318.
Yeah, but he's saying it's a TBI.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, a bad coolant temp sensor will give you that. Oh no, Austin says it's a Holly 2-barrel. And the choke is a temperature regulated one, but it's brand new carb.
Oh. It's a temperature regulated one? Does that mean that it's a gas tube choke? Or it's a heated stove? If it's a Holly 2-barrel.
Temperature regulating one.
I'm assuming that that's an 87. It would have to almost be electric choke.
But the question is are you past that part where you know that the choke and everything is working, the pull off is right, the choke is open? I don't know.
I know what it is. Brand new carburetor, right?
Yeah.
He just put it on there. The choke is not adjusted. It's not adjusted.
We don't know if he's past the choke part. Are you, Austin? Are you past screwing around with the choke? Matt asks, I might get a computer control tool. That won't do it. That won't make it flood. New carbs always need adjustment. Yes. So he's past the choke part. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I'd open that sucker manually all the way up and then see what happens.
Yeah, is it when it stalls? Is it dripping fuel through the boosters? Can you see it actually flooding over? John Wilbur, Tony, regular hydraulic flat tappet lifters will go in a roller lifter 318. Yes. Yeah, you can put a flat tap. The bore is the same. The lifter just sits way down in there.
You can't use the roller cam.
You can use the roller, but you said on a roller block. The roller block on
right.
On
you just don't
put
a flat tappet cam on that roller cam.
Oh yeah. So stock, okay, Wayne Ferguson. So stock fitted piston, offset angle more during power stroke and less on return. I never worried about it on the return. I have no idea on the upstroke. I never really thought about that. But like I said, what you're doing is you're lining the rod up so that she's straight as the piston's actually beginning its descent.
Oh, how's the AHRA doing and what's new? Well, last weekend we got bad weather came through and flooded out track there in Hertford, North Carolina. So we didn't go to the event, even though we had made all the preps to. Right now, that shifts us back to the next event being, I believe, Jeffers Motorsports Park. I got to look at the schedule. It's a couple of weeks away.
It does drip. Okay, if it drips, so what could make that happen? Okay. Okay. On that carburetor, right? The needle and seat assembly is the fuel inlet. Okay. If it's dripping, it's possible that you've got either too thick of a washer. Try this, right? Try taking the fuel line off. Screw out that needle and seat assembly. If there's a washer on it, take the washer off and then screw it back in. Tighten it down all the way, right? Then put your fuel line on and see if that fixes it. You're saying floats are perfect. Yeah, but trust me, just try, if there's a washer on there, take the washer off and screw it all the way in. See what happens. Because what that'll do is when you take that washer out and you screw that fitting back in, it's going to push the needle closer to the tang that shuts, the floats, right? So it'll lower the overall fuel level.
Okay, so this Hunter Klein is saying, "Hey Tony, I got a 1980 GMC."
Wait. Hold this whole thing. If there's no washer, should I put one on it? No. If you put a washer on it, you'll make it worse because the washer is gonna bring the needle valve away from the floats, and it's gonna allow the float to come up higher before it shuts off fuel flow. So no, if there's no washer, you're gonna have to take the top of the carburetor off, and you're gonna have to bend that tang so that you can lower the level of the float. But if there is a washer, take the washer off, screw it back in, and see if that fixes it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I was just going to answer this guy's question.
Yeah.
He was asking about, hey, Tony, I got a 1980 GMC with a 350, run, starts, and drives good, but when I put my foot into it, it stumbles. What could I do to help this? Well, sounds like it's probably a GMC truck, so it'd be a quadrijet. So you're feeling the quadribog is what you're feeling.
Oh, not necessarily.
Well, no, he's just saying stumbles when you get into it, which quadrijets are kind of notorious for, right?
It's gonna be one of two things. It's gonna be one of two things.
Accelerator pump?
Either the accelerator pump or his timing is retarded.
Oh, I was actually thinking that maybe what happens is in the secondary air door, it has a spring that controls that opening.
Well, okay.
And the spring weakens over time, and you can adjust that spring.
Yes. Well, okay, but now where is it doing it? So Hunter, is it off idle or is it when you mat it? Because that's going to give you two different.
Right. Yep. And there's an easy fix for it. If it's an accelerator pump, there's generally two holes that you can move those rods to, right? And like a 350 motor, it depends what year it was, but you can always move them to the inner hole.
Yeah, the inner hole gives you a stronger pump shot.
Right.
Austin, okay, thanks. Looking super forward to the shop opening. To us fans, you're not fans, you're viewers. We don't have fans. We have viewers. We have friends. We don't have fans. We don't do that. Definitely come over to see you guys. I'm looking forward to meeting you. Zeus, are there ever going to be UTG hoodies?
Do you need one?
I don't know. Uncle Kathy and Uncle Crystal take care of merch. Vince W. I have a really nice stock assembled 455 old short block. It has some vertical scratches and 2 cylinders for the bore length as far as I can see. Would it be bad to just run it and have fun?
No. It depends how bad your scratches are, but
the rule of
thumb is if you can catch a fingernail in them, that's when you worry about them. But that can easily be fixed if it's just a light scratch. You can hone that sucker out.
If it's a really light scratch,
it'll fill with carbon. If it's that small,
it'll fill with oil.
Well, that too.
That fills with oil. A lot of you get a lot of imperfections in a cylinder wall will fill with oil as the engine is running, and the oil will just stay in the hole. Remember, the piston is the rings are sweeping past it at 10 zillion miles an hour. The oil doesn't have a chance to fall out. It just actually kind of becomes part of the cylinder wall.
Well, and the other thing that people don't realize is that a scratch in a cylinder wall is really not that bad. My personal opinion, you have gaps in your rings, right? It's the same dang thing.
Yeah.
It's letting compression by. You'll be fine. Just if you're going through it right now, just cut your ring groove to the minimum amount liable. If you have some fileable rings, if they're not filed rings, they're probably already preset.
Andrew Button, true, but engine guys get bent out of shape over any wall flaws. People tend to get a little too scientific. Okay, there's real world what you deal with on a daily basis, right? Like for instance, you could take an engine. You've seen this. You can take an engine that's got 100,000 miles on it, and it runs absolutely perfectly. It doesn't burn any oil. It doesn't make any noise. It makes tons of power. Everything's just fine with it. But if you tear it down, you're going to find this is gouged, that's nicked, this is scratched, it's got a build-up here, the bearing's got colors on them and stuff like that. And people would say, that thing will never run. It'll blow itself up on the starter. But it motors along just fine. It was fine before you took it apart.
So, my philosophy with this, really, the very first attempt with the Harley Davidson, before the company was formed, when those guys were building motors in their garage, right, and putting them on bikes, the very first attempt at an engine, they built it on a stand with a hand drill, right? And the only reason that it failed is because it didn't have precision machining on the crankshaft and the cylinder, right? And that's the only reason it failed. If you look at any car on the road today, there's going to be, just like you're saying, all the stuff is going to be worn, but it'll run flawless. It'll be quiet. they'll take so much abuse. So much abuse. Like I had a 302 Ford. Perfect example. I was 18. My dad gave me a 302 Ford. I wanted this 302. I had this Mustang that I got for cheap, right? Hey, you can have this 302 I got, son. No problem. It ran. We took it out of a Granada. It's yours. Didn't even smoke. Okay. He's like, it clattered. Okay, no problem. I took it home, or I took it to my buddy's house where the Mustang was. We took it all apart, and I take the bolt out of the harmonic balancer, right? And the fucking snout falls off the crank. And then I take it apart, and the crank is broke between it'd be like number 3 cylinder, right? It's broken half. And when I took the main caps off, the back of the crank just fell out, right? And I'm like, holy crap. But the thing was a running motor. And that's what it's like, you wouldn't believe how much abuse they'll take before they stop going.
Okay. What's going on, one word? John H., what is the conversion between foot-pounds and acute?
Cute.
Yeah. Well, acute is just like, you know what I mean? You know, where foot-pounds are actually digging into it.
Tony, do you recommend running an extra quart of oil in my 350 Olds block with high volume oil pump? No, I would not run an extra quart of oil. I want to run it on the dipstick, leave it at full, right? Because that's where it's designed to run. Otherwise, it causes excess windage, especially at low RPM, because your high volume pump is going to work well at high RPM.
What was this here? Benjamin C., I just watched the first few minutes of Richard's video. He kind of jumped the gun on saying he cornered you, and he plans on talking to him again, clear the earth talk theory. I have no problem with him. He can perceive whatever he wants. The only thing I say directly to Richard, if he's watching this, and if he maybe catches on the other thing, Richard, I'm only responsible for what I say. I am not responsible for what you hear. Go back and watch the video. That's the only thing I have to say about Richard. I have no problem with Richard. I like Richard. I have a good time when we talk. And honestly, I don't like to talk with people who agree with me. I get bored talking with people who agree with me. I'm this kind of, I like to butt heads. So yeah, man, by all means.
Well, and that's what they used to call a spirited conversation.
Exactly. You know, there's a story, true story, okay? I used to have coffee houses. When I got out of the nitro thing, because my head was just like done. Okay, I was burned out, right? I got out of the nitro thing, and I was bored with my life. I didn't know what to do, so I started shooting pool, and then I started spending all my nights trying to hustle fucking pool. It was terrible. It was crazy, right? So then I says I got to do something that's just mellow. So I opened a coffee house, right? So I did this for years. I had a bunch of different coffee houses. I one in New York, and I had like 4 of them here in Tennessee. And what I would do is, at night, like it'd be like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight, right, like that. And the nightly regulars would all be sitting around, and it would be quiet. I would start arguments. I would start group fights.
Philosophical discussions.
I would throw something out there that I knew was going to trigger somebody. And then the next thing you know, you've got a dozen people that are just embroiled in this like debate. And I lived for that. It was fun. So yeah, no, I have no problem with Richard at all. I welcome
a rebuttal,
and not so much a rebuttal, but conversation. You know,
that every time I think of discussions like that, have you ever seen any of the Austin Powers movies? Where he said my dad used to run around claiming things like he invented the question mark. That's what I think of. And you can get them coffee people jacked up on questions.
That's too deep and too profound. If 2 people agree on everything, one of them is unnecessary. That is awesome.
You need to put that on a shirt.
We had a super chat come through here, and I didn't recognize it. I'm so sorry. Anthony Perna, thank you, sir. Hey guys, I have a Ford 300 rebuilt with 50,000 miles on it. I was driving to work and lost compression on number 1. I don't have any smoke, just a bad mess. It does have a dead lifter. Could that lead to 0 PSI? Have a dead lifter?
Did the lifter collapse? That's what I'm assuming. Or is it like no load left on the
I'm thinking
cam.
there's no load left on the cam. I'm thinking there's
Because
no load left on the
those
cam.
are not rollers. Those are flat tappets.
Yeah, Anthony, I hate to say it, brother. I think you
might have a flat cam.
Chris Greenaway, Tony, I think people are getting this interpreted wrong. He probably means you don't rely on a dyno info like him because you actually know the car uses 30% to get to the rear wheels. No, that's not it at all. The debate is, not even debate, the question I have is, right, the way dynos are set up, the way a dyno is functions, okay, does it accurately measure all of the variables of an engine, like for instance, long rod versus short rod, or offset versus no offset, all of these different things, will they show up on a dyno the same way that they will show up in the car's performance? And based on things that I've seen, not only on his stuff, but based on things I've seen where they've tested different theories, okay, time-proven theories. If I didn't make these things up, engineers, Detroit engineers did these things. I just learn from them, and I emulate what they do. There are certain time-honored hot rodding traditions that don't hold water when you put them on a dyno, but they do hold water when you put them on a drag strip. So where is that missing link? And I'm speculating in that it's the way a dyno actually functions, in that the dyno, you're not running the load into the dyno, you're running a load and the dyno is holding the load, and then the dyno is allowing the load to advance, as opposed to the load pushing its way in. So because it's two different methods, or two different ideologies, mechanical ideologies, I'm wondering if, and I guess I was asking a question in that video. I wasn't making a statement, I was asking a question. I'm still asking the question. Is there a missing link to the way engine dynos are run that doesn't account for things like the difference in rod ratio? Does that make sense? Yeah, Loud Bros, dynos can't factor in track variables, but we're not talking about track variables. We're talking about actual engine physics.
I just realized something. If a long rod motor actually made a difference, it would have shown up on the RPM test that they did on Engine Masters, because they ran the motor through the same RPM band.
Yeah.
If a long rod motor with a shorter compression height on the piston would have actually shown more power because it had less dwell at the top.
No, the long rod would have more dwell. Longer rod.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm backwards. But yeah, it would have shown more power at the top. KB pistons are expensive here in New Zealand, which is why I consider offset machine the small end of the rods to raise my good 318 pistons 1 millimeter in the bore.
318 will run. Will a light rotating assembly versus a heavy rotating assembly show up on a dyno? It actually would. It actually would, because no matter what, even though it's spinning, you still have to carry that inertia. Isn't self-perpetuating. That inertia still has to be. So yeah, you actually would see a difference on a dyno between a light reciprocating and a heavy reciprocating assembly. If you didn't see a difference between light and heavy reciprocating assembly, it would mean at the end of the rainbow you've got perpetual motion. That doesn't exist.
Dream build for a 351 Cleveland, looking at a 72 Torino. Dream build for a 351 Cleveland. Well, for the street or for the strip? If it's for the street, go bigger cubes. You'll love that. You'll love the torque that the thing makes. It'll make the same amount of power, it just happens so much lower in RPM band. Jason's Garage says, I wish you could tell my dad perpetual motion does not exist.
Well, now we're talking about the plane that we're limited to, right? Our physical, world, the way we interact with the physical world. This particular physical world, there is no way that we can attain perpetual motion. But if you're talking interdimensionally, the things that are possible in various other of the levels of existence, perpetual motion is within the realm of possibility, but not given our, that makes sense?
Yeah. Big Pack tap in. Is there really a difference between the HO50 Mustang engine and the normal 50? Yep. The HO has forged pistons in it, and also has the E7 heads. And the normal 50 of that era would have had the E6 heads, which were terrible in comparison. But then also you have the camshaft is a 351 Windsor firing order in the HO motor, and the regular 302 is not.
One word, ask Bob Lazar about perpetual motion. Okay. Firing order on the HO is different. I believe he's right.
Yep. It is. It's the same as 351 Windsor, which is supposed to be more in tune with the reciprocation of the motor. It's supposed to be harmonics wise. It's supposed to be a better firing order. That's the same as a 5.7 cam swap, right? On a Chevrolet, when they're doing the 5.7 cam swap.
Yeah, but on the Ford, they're swapping the middle cylinders.
Right, but it's supposed to be based on harmonics of the engine. Yeah. It's actually supposed to work better.
Well, no, you do the 5.7 swap because you've got those two cylinders firing one after the other, create an uneven pulse in the intake.
In the intake? Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they split.
Ah, okay.
Oh, Chris Myers, thank you, sir. Chris Miles, thank you. Four to seven, yeah. Ford does 4 to 7, and Chevy does 5.7, and now the Chryslers do that too.
Well, my favorite, my T-Bird came with the standard output 302, which was the non-HO version. And I tell you what, the camshafts in those, and there's been a lot of discussion about it. People will say it's not a roller. It is a roller. In my 88, it was a roller. I don't know about before, but in the 88, it was a roller, and it is one bitchin' cam. I love that thing. It is great truck cam, makes good torque. That motor, the standard 302, if you got it in like a T-Bird or a town car or whatever, it was actually called, if you bought it from Ford, a crate motor, it was called the high torque 302.
Kiri, do the long and short rod motors use different ignition timing? Yes, you've got two different dynamics going on there. The dwell time is one of the deals, because dwell is altered. A long rod motor has a few more degrees of dwell than a short rod motor. So you've got to take that dwell into account when you're going for ignition time, setting your initial time, because you've got no motion happening there. And then also piston speed away from top dead center is different between a long rod and a short rod motor. Short rod motor accelerates the piston away even faster. So there are definite, and depending on the bore stroke relationship of the engine, there's but if the engine is same bore, same stroke, and the only difference is in rod ratio, yes, you would absolutely have to time it differently to optimize the difference in rod ratio. But offhand, thinking about it like this, having this conversation, I can't think of where it would be. But there would absolutely be a difference in optimum timing.
I noticed that engines with a shorter rod, because their piston speed at top dead center is so much faster. I mean, the compression ratio between the engines may be completely the same, right? But because the dwell and the speed happens so quickly at the very top dead center and bottom dead center, that they're more prone to detonation because it squeezes that mixture so quickly at the very top.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But then you would also want to light it later to take advantage of
the quick speed.
Of the quick speed.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll probably have less timing in the short rod motor, less initial timing.
Doug Ferguson. Douglas, am I attending any swap meets or shows this year? The only thing I know of, we're definitely hitting is 318 Fest in May, and then the Slant Six race in
Slanted Nationals.
The Slanted Nationals in Sykeston, Missouri.
Right, September the 5th.
September 5th. So those are the only two events right now that I know that we're going to be at.
And Slanted Nationals actually has a swap meet. We're doing a swap meet, car show, and drag race.
And in either event, I'll probably be hiding someplace because that's generally what I do.
Hey, I'm here. Okay, see you guys later.
No, I'm serious. I hide. I just.
You don't like the crowd?
No.
I get my skin crawls actually when the crowd gets too big. Like I can't shop at Christmas time. People will be. It's just overwhelming, right? All right.
Boston Mason. I have another serious question. How would you go about converting HEI back to points? And how big can you bore without heat issues on a 73-318 block? Swapping between points and HEI is literally just a matter of changing distributors. But if you've got an HEI that's working, like I said, I said it in the video, and I've said it many times. Points are my thing, right? I have nothing against HEI. I have nothing against any electronic ignition at all. That's.
Well, no, it's reliability.
Do you have internet on your phone there?
I do.
Okay. Google I guess it was CarCraft. CarCraft distributor shootout. I'm gonna bring something up about points here. Oh God. Well, he's looking for that.
Okay, 1998, sound right?
Yes.
Exhaust and distributor shootout.
You just want the distributor shootout.
I don't want to buy the magazine.
No.
Okay, hotrod.com, ignition performance test, ignition shootouts, points versus HEI.
Yeah, that's a point. That's it. Okay.
John Kiewitz. He was one of my favorites too.
This is a test, right? So for anybody who doubts me, anybody who doubts me, this is a test that you can find yourself, right? You don't need me to walk you through all of this. What's the give them the ad or the
hotrod.com articles. The name is ignition performance test, ignition shootout, points versus HEI.
All right. So go to that. Go Google that yourself. All right. We'll wait here for you. Go Google that. Ignition points versus HEI shootout. Okay. What you'll find when you get there, and this is in Hot Rod. Okay. What you'll find when you get there is that the points distributor outperformed not only the stock HEI, it made more power at a higher RPM. Not only did it outperform the stock HEI, but it also outperformed, I believe it was an Axel.
A Davis Unified Ignition, DUI.
Right, it outperformed the Davis Unified Ignition. So, and that was a stock, regular Chevy single point distributor, like out of like a 70 Nova, whatever it happened to be, right? I don't make these things up. The numbers are right there.
Oh, there's some stupid thing attached to Hot Rod's page. All right, well, we'll close that out.
So like I said, if you have any doubt about the validity of ignition points, you can find it yourself right there. You can read the article yourself, and you can look at all of the numbers that they come up with, and then you tell me that I'm nuts for going with points.
I just think points is reliable.
Okay.
Dallas coming to Sega soon? Nah, probably not this season. Hopefully next season. I like I said before, I just keep running into roadblocks here and there, and things taking up all my time. Especially the AHRA is taking up a lot of my time.
Benjamin, yeah, I love it. So I gotta address this. Benjamin C. Hot Rod Magazine isn't about making horsepower, it's about selling crap that sponsors them. I agree 1,000% with that. Except in this particular story, the stock distributor outperformed the HEI and the aftermarket one that they would be wanting to sell.
And I seriously doubt GM was pumping money into their
Right.
points distributors at that point.
Yeah, it's one of those rare moments of like brutal honesty in like the Peterson publication.
HEI is a less maintenance thing. I don't, maybe so. Maybe if you don't have to change the points every 30,000 miles, but I mean, the HEI, okay, perfect example of HEI's less reliability factor. You remember when the very first tech video we did where we were breaking in a cam and the HEI distributor module ate itself?
That's right. That's right.
The very first video.
We were sitting here, exactly. We lived it right here live on this, we were breaking in a cam on one of his Buick motors there. The motor ran for about, I don't know, half a minute, even at that, and it just dropped dead, just dead silence. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. The ignition module took a shit right here, live, as we were sitting here. He grabbed one out of an old distributor, swapped it over, and finished the break-in. But I mean, it happened here live with just ignition module just out, done. But like I said, you people are like, he lives in the past, he's with the points, blah, blah. But I just showed you where you can find yourself evidence of a whole chart, direct back-to-back comparison between 3 different types of ignition, and the stock single point outperformed the other ones.
The problem with ignition points is that they float at 6,000 RPM. If you've got a cheap set of ignition points, they float even lower RPM. That was the point of the dual point, though, right?
Well, that's one of them, but the 6,000 RPM is a pretty arbitrary number. A bad set of points will float, yeah, in the 6,000 RPM range. A good set of, Axel still makes points. You can still buy good aftermarket points. We ran points on the top fuel dragster in the 1990s, I quit in 98, I think it was. 98 was my last year. And we were running Super Mag 5s. And the Super Mag 5 is triggered by a set of points. So we had basically the Super Mag 5 is a generator on top of a single point distributor. And we were making 5,500, 6,000 horsepower with that, and no issues whatsoever.
Well, points are technically just a relay.
And it was 8,000 RPM.
Well, and relays will operate at like 20,000 hertz.
Yeah.
So, and you think about your engine, you spin it up 6,000 revolutions per minute, but how many revolutions is the distributor going? Is anybody thinking about that? It's actually only 3,000, right, for your distributor. I believe it is because it's running off the cam, and the cam's turning half speed the crank.
Andrew Button, he's had him to 7 grand many times. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I have nothing against electronic ignition. I have nothing against HEI. I work on all of these things. Just like fuel injection, I have nothing against fuel injection. I work on fuel injection. I was racing fuel injected cars 35 years ago, right? So I have nothing against all of these systems. I know these systems very well. I just choose in my own cars, my cars, the ones that I have to live with, I have to maintain, I have to work on, I have to drive, right? I have to diagnose, I have to troubleshoot, I have to put parts on them. I prefer analog stuff like points. I'm not saying it's for everybody, it's for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Well, I like points are reliable. See, the people forget that, okay, for 50 years, cars came with points.
50, try again.
Well, you think it was longer than that?
Of course, from the 1890s until
1975?
Yeah.
So, okay.
80 years.
80 years.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and it's not a bad ignition system. I thought the early ones were magnetos, weren't they?
The earliest ones would have been like on a Briggs and Stratton.
Right.
Where a magnet passes.
The flying magnet.
Yeah, but I'm sure the Kettering ignition, the points are called the Kettering ignition, goes back, I think the patent on that was in 1880 something.
Okay.
So, yeah. Let's see. Matt Horn, points simple and sometimes simplicity works better. I've always said that the best machine is the simplest machine. You know, it's just like the best answer to a question is the simplest answer to a question. But everybody has different opinions.
Danny Boyd's asking, or I'm sorry, Ron Ward. Hey, Uncle Tony, drag slicks use tubes or not?
Some of them do. Depends.
I used to put tubes in all.
Did you?
Yeah, but then I started having problems where it would tear the stems.
Yep.
And some guys told me about, hey, run them without tubes, and I'm thinking, okay, so I put the tubes on, or I put the slicks on there without tubes, and they go flat in like minutes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because you're screwing the tire to the wheel. So right. What I did was I RTV'd those screws when I put them in the wheel.
Okay.
Never had a problem after that.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be penetrating when you're screwing when you're putting screws through the bead, through the rim into the bead. You shouldn't be actually penetrating the carcass of the tire.
It shouldn't be going all the way through. No. But I was trying to pretty much eliminate any leaks because that's why they kept going flat. I'm like, why the hell do they keep going flat? But RTV fixed it.
Olive says Occam's razor. Yeah, okay. I was trying to think of that, Olive. Thank you. Occam's razors actually says the simplest answer that accounts for all of the evidence. If they don't, simple answer get complicated real quick. John Warburn says, as far as the tubes, I ran them tubeless and brushed the inside with dishwashing liquid, holds there like a champ. I never thought of that. It's a good idea.
It probably does work pretty good.
Ellie the Retro Kid, I deleted my lean burn. It was too complicated. Never ran. They didn't run right when they were new. The lean burn was just a bad idea. That was bad. That was the dark days of the old Chrysler Corporation.
People were deleting them when I was in high school. I'm still surprised there's any of them out there.
When I was a kid, I made a fortune. You have no idea how many of those things I converted to regular points. Huh. Because the cars were brand new, 76 car. It was like 1977, 1970. I was a teenager, and my mother's car runs like shit. And I just rip out
the distributor, whole point of that?
Drop in a single point distributor, and be like, it runs like a brand new car. It's awesome.
What was the whole point of that lean burn? Was it was minimizing the spark?
What it was doing, it was taking. So a regular distributor has mechanical and vacuum advance.
Right.
Okay. Well, the lean burn distributor didn't have any mechanical advance, and it used a vacuum signal that would normally go to the vacuum advance, right, to make calculations on where exactly, and it had two sets of electronic pickups.
Oh, I think I remember that was a big computer about like this big, and it had a lean burn on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What a turd! It was terrible, terrible, terrible. Just delete the distributor. Bryce Freeman, I run IHRA mod class. 1/8 mile is AHRA. Any different rules wise? What is different?
For a bracket class, that's what you're running. If you're running mod, you're running like a foot brake bracket class. Ours is no box, but it's virtually the same thing. The only difference is if you're running at an AHRA track, and let's say you're running your mod class, which would be the no box. If you're a member and you win the class, we pay you money on top, right? That's the thing that you'll never see from any of the IHRA or NHRA stuff. They don't throw you any money.
Danny Boyd says, sounds like you could hack the lean burn module and use it for performance. No, the lean burn module can't be hacked or used for anything useful. It was just bad. It's a bad system, very bad system.
Does a lightweight rotating assembly make less torque than the heavy one because it loses the flywheel effect? Inertia, like probably from the hit it would, right? But then it would kill power as RPM starts to going up. The heavyweight versus lightweight.
I'm not gonna say it would kill power. It would reduce it somewhat,
but it would lose its inertial mass. It
depends what you're trying to do with the car. If you're talking about a drag car, I would go with the inertial weight to get the thing moving, because that's the value of the time slip. The value of each section of the track becomes less the further down the track you go. So the 60-foot, a tenth of a second in the 60-foot is a second and change at the 8th mile.
Right.
Right. So because there's such diminishing returns as you go down the track, I would try to make my moves early.
Well, that's where you can make the biggest impact, is in the at the initial.
So I would sacrifice
long run horsepower for low end grunt.
Right, for the inertia of the heavier.
And that's more of a factor when you have like a heavy car. That's a big factor when you have a heavy car, because you're trying to get all that weight moving.
You see, I'm one of those people that doesn't believe in really hitting the starting line hard. Right? In other words, I understand the value of a 60-foot. I'm all there, right? But I don't necessarily, I'm not a proponent of like a violent launch or of a violent hit, which is more of a bracket racer thing, you know what I mean? To eliminate any variable.
Right.
I like to see the initial hit on the tire, the initial hit be soft.
Oh, and then freight train from that point forward.
Right. Right.
That's how the turbo cars are doing it these days. That's why they run such ridiculous numbers.
Well, that's how nitro cars do it too. The initial hit, very, very soft.
Well, that's how they slip the clutch.
Well, yeah, but not only that, but yeah, for the most part. But there's so much give to the tire.
Right.
You know what I mean? The sidewall, right?
Right. That's why
you have a soft hit. Like an alcohol car actually leaves harder than a nitro car does. But the way I look at it in terms of like door slammers, right? To go for that violent initial hit, you need oversized tire. You need a suspension that's suited to that oversized tire. You're dedicating so much of the car's construction to the hit of the tire that you're sacrificing flexibility. And does that make any sense?
And an inch further down the track.
Right. Yeah. So basically, if I want to destroy the starting line, okay, I need this much fucking tire. If I just say I'm going to just roll up the starting line, I need this much tire to make the same hit.
Yeah, and so that when I was messing with nitrous, like way back, late '90s, early 2000s, right? That was what I was doing. I was 302 Ford, and I was hitting with a 150 shot off the line. And then at the 60-foot mark, once the car is rolling, because I only had an 8-inch wide slick on the car. But once the car was rolling at the 60-foot mark, I'd whack it with another 150 shot, right? Man, did it really become alive then at that point.
I'm sure.
Right? But made up, gosh, it ran good numbers for being a street car. Mickey Jordan, Sega needs a beauty. I know. I'm trying to get there. Trust me, I'm trying to get there. I've been working my ass off on it. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos I've had to make my own parts.
Man, there's a lot of lean burn discussion going on there.
I know. And the sad part was Chrysler realized that was a turd after what, 2 years?
I think they knew it was a turd as they were designing it. It was like one of those things that's just like, you're going to make us do this? Yeah, that was bad. That was just bad.
Well, did it eventually end up leading to the death of the Mopar, like rear-wheel drive cars? Because it was shortly after that, it was like K cars, right?
The K cars had it too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Holy cow. That was a turd. Whoever thought that up, man, sorry. It was a turd.
Ron Ward says, I think Dave Dudek's Roadrunner is a prime example of how to make a car run quick without all hard hit on the starting line. Absolutely. Absolutely. You think about that car, right? He runs an 8 3/4 in it with stock leaf springs, and it goes 980s, right? So you think like you tell anybody, yeah, I'm going to take a 4,000-pound car, and I'm going to run in the 9s with an 8 3/4 rear and a 7-inch wide polyglass tire, and they would think you were out of your mind, right? And he does it normally aspirated, you know what I mean? And all of those guys who run fast do. So it's just. And that's the direction that I lean to, you know what I mean, or the philosophy that I lean to. I don't want to know about destroying the initial hit, you know. I don't, because I'm not a bracket racer, you know. But those guys, that's the ideology that I try to follow. That's the kind of stuff that we like to talk about on this channel.
Well, here's something that's interesting that I have actually thought about for a long time.
Okay.
So Steve Bico is saying, Tony, my 350 Olds motor doesn't make much vacuum for brakes. What should I add? Electric vacuum booster, need recommendations. All right. I learned this. The Grand National came out because it was turbocharged, couldn't have a vacuum brake.
It has that
Hydro Boost.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have Hydro Boost.
It does.
No, it has that canister, Grand National doesn't have Hydro Boost. The Grand National has that pressurized vessel that mounts. It has that ball that mounts at the master cylinder.
I'm pretty certain they all had Hydro Boost.
Hydro Boost is where the power steering pump.
Right, exactly.
But Grand National didn't have that.
Okay, well, I was under the impression that they did, but a Hydro Boost system would fix that as long as you still have power steering. If you got power steering, run a Hydro Boost system. You can go get one off of a Safari van. Safaris came with Hydro Boost setup, and the master cylinder is a direct swap onto almost all the GMs. So you can run a Hydro Boost setup on that for peanuts, and then you can buy the parts just from Rock Auto to convert almost any car. But
yeah, Andrew Button says, yes, we had two of the Grand Nationals. It was a black globe, really expensive to fix, really bad. No, I don't remember it being very expensive to fix. You go to, I don't know how common they are anymore, but because the Grand National wasn't the only car that they used that setup on. And I remember like just fixing customers' cars that would have them, and I don't recall which cars would have them. Remember, I was a regular mechanic, so there was just always different cars coming and going through my life. And those balls were only maybe 30 or 40 bucks. It was just a pressurized vessel. There was not much to it.
And then Douglas Feeler says, make a vacuum pump. 7.3s had one. 7.3 Power Stroke did have a vacuum pump to run all the brakes.
Yeah.
Which was I thought was ingenious. I just converted mine over to the full size Super Duty Ford. Came with Hydro Boost, so I just converted to the Hydro Boost. But that was so much simpler.
Oh, Andrew Button says, back when it was new, it wasn't. Later, they went out of production from GM and they were basically unobtainium. Okay, I could see that. But yeah, see, they didn't have Hydro Boost, the Grand Nationals.
I did not know that. I thought they always did.
Let's see.
It's a plastic vacuum ball.
But it's not plastic.
It was a big metal one?
It was a metal ball. It's a ball. It's literally a ball.
Huh.
And it's filled with a pressurized oil.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, is that kind of like what the Turbo Coupe Fords had?
The ball is called an accumulator ball. Thank you, Big Bear. They had that on the Regal T-Type. Yep. Good night, old crony. Okay, let's see. There were a lot of conversion kits for the GM to Hydro Boost.
Oh,
okay, well, I could see if that
ball was unobtainium.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that. But I just thought the Hydro Boost was simple. It was like, oh man, this sucker comes on those Safari vans.
The Hydro Boost was first on Cadillacs.
Was it?
Yes.
It works great.
It was on, I'm going to say 1977, 78, 79, maybe Cadillacs.
Seville.
Was the first application, the full-size ones.
Huh.
Was the first Hydro Boost that I had seen, that I worked on.
I thought they were
a genius idea. Yeah, it's a good idea.
I love the big block 400, just not the lean burner. Huh.
Yuja Takahashi. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing. Takahashi? I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing
Must be
name,
Japanese.
My brother. Speaking of fuel related, how do you guys feel about tuning the AFR at idle with proper sensor gauge?
AFR at idle?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that's like the last place you need AFR. Because that's,
It'd
and
be on the
idle is,
road.
seriously, and idle is the only place in the whole range of the engine that you could actually get out and like smell the exhaust.
Yeah,
You know what I
pretty
mean?
much.
I would say it's the last place you want to worry about using an AFR.
But you could,
You
I mean,
could,
you technically could, but at idle under no load, it should be like, oh damn, it's probably going to be high, like 17-1 or something, huh?
I don't know.
Is this under no load?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's under no load, but then it has to maintain a load when you're sitting there in park or in drive rather. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you know you're making your settings. You're making your because I do that. What I'll do is like if I'm setting the car on my daily driver, I'll run it up against something in like a tree or a wall in gear,
You just put it in
and I'll make my adjustments with it.
Oh, you put it in drive and leave it up against the wall.
Yeah. South Jersey Jim, every Mopar owner I know has swapped out their power brake booster for a Hydro Boost system. Says it's one of the best modifications they've made. Tremendous improvement. I automatically remove the power brake. If I get my hands on a car, my own cars, and it has a power brake booster, the first thing I do is remove the power brake booster.
And put the manual on.
Yeah, just go manual. Power brake, I mean, power brakes, that's one of those, power brakes is one of those like, old people going to the market kind of options. You know what I'm saying?
I always like them. I mean, they always feel nice and it's easy to stop.
Yeah, but it's just I
can see the point of manual
brakes,
and that's why you have feel, right? When you have power brakes, you don't have any feel. It removes a lot of the feel, right? That's why. Oh dang it! Who was that? I think it was Carroll Shelby. It was Carroll Shelby when they were building the Shelby Mustang from Ford. And remember in '67 when they fattened that Shelby all up, when it became like a big boat with all these options, he was like, take the fucking power brakes off, right? And they're like, no, it's got to have all the options if it's a Shelby. No, I'm telling you, take the power brakes off because even though it's a big fat barge, people that want these cars are going to want to race it. Right. They want to feel the braking.
I prefer manual everything. I like manual everything.
It doesn't fail. That's why race cars,
right?
That's why race cars, you look, they got manual steering, manual brakes. There's so much stuff that can not fail. You know, it's so much less of a failure rate. That's what they do.
Well, you know, here's a pretty what I would think would be a valid point. Okay. If you're dealing with an older car, let's say you're daily driving an older car, a 60s, 70s car, those options become real liabilities.
Right.
Power steering, power brakes, any of those,
you're done. Right? You're parked until it's fixed.
Exactly. When the car is all manual, it's like those problems just do not exist, and so you just keep motoring down the road.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot less stuff to fail. And so I put my race car kind of like with that philosophy, except for I put 2 batteries in it. And everybody was like, 2 batteries? Well, yeah, if one of them fails, I still got one, right? And if you think like drag racing, if you don't make the call, you're done, right? So, and I know you're all about the heads up racing, right? You don't like the bracket racing, but
well, the Plan Z Dart, I want to bracket race that car. Because there's really no place to run heads up with that. You know what I'm saying? It's
maybe with the slant guys, where it's a fair, even keel.
Right. But for the most part, realistically, there's no place to heads up that car. It's slow, right? Very slow car.
Right.
So the intent of that car is to bracket race it. Go out and bracket race it regularly, and then tweak and tune and whatnot to perfect it so that when we go to an event like the Slanted Nationals, we got a good shot at it.
Right. Are you going to jump in with those guys and run points in their series?
No, I don't have time for that. I can't get too wrapped up in drag racing Because the channel, there's only a very small percentage of the channel that cares about that. You know what I'm saying?
But I thought people followed you because of the drag racing, right?
No.
No?
They follow me because of basic tech.
Basic tech?
The biggest responses we get, the biggest videos we get, the most popular videos we get are our biggest videos had to do with scams. People, like the tag job video, or right. The second most popular videos we do are on history, engine history, like the history of this engine and that engine, or setups, six-pack setup, or the Chrysler electro-ejector cars, the Bendix electro-ejector cars, or those are the second most popular videos we do.
I just great idea. Man, I wish I would have thought of it sooner. That 300 Buick that I'm building right here on the stand.
Yeah.
I made it a long rod 300 Buick. It's got 6.4 inch long rods.
Right.
Those pistons will fit in there with that same bearing. We can actually put a long rod right next to a short rod, turn the motor over, and you can see them in comparison.
Oh, I've done it on Hemis.
Have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can absolutely chart the difference in you'll
put a degree wheel on there, and
you don't need a degree wheel. You can actually see
it.
Yeah. Throw a long rod and a short rod on the same journal.
Right.
Right. And then just go top dead to top dead. You know what I mean? And you can really see the difference.
Like, man, that dude's still hanging out at the top.
The angularity of just like an eighth of an inch difference in rod length, you can actually see.
Oh, those would be 5 point. So it'd be a half an inch difference.
Yeah, you'll see that. Erica, 4624. Hello, Eric. Oh, Eric. Eric. 4624. Let's see.
Here's one for y'all. When the belt got thrown on my 454 one ton, I lost the steering and brake assist because of the hydro boost. And the charging too. It was a 3 belt. Is that what he said? Yeah, I guess it would be dependent upon the belt. But when was the last time somebody threw a power steering belt?
Good night, Anthony. I only have power steering on. I only have power steering on two. I have.
Does your Caravan have power steering?
No, I wish it did.
Manual?
That one needs power steering. I only have power steering on 15 cars and trucks. And the only thing I have power steering on Kathy's Swinger for daily driver, my 73 Roadrunner, and my Wrecker.
Oh,
I've only got power steering on 3, right? Is that right? Yeah, I've only got power steering on 3 vehicles.
Man, well, your Wrecker doesn't have the Wrecker boom on it anymore, right?
I took it off. It's useless as tits on a bull.
Man, we should ramp bed that sucker.
Ramp bed it?
Ramp bed it.
Oh, ramp bed it. It's too short. Wheelbase is too short.
You cut and then lengthen it.
Oh, I don't want to go through all that. It's a great tug. Anthony Smith, your points distributor still produced. Yes.
That's Eric Albino. Eric 4624 at a Dallas when you come in for your switch pitch. I got a switch pitch. Eric.
Oh, okay, cool.
I bought it from a guy in Florida. So we can actually do, if you wanted, a video on a switch pitch setup. I was going to put a switch pitch and a gear vendors in my Suburban, so that you would have like variable vane torque converter plus a gear vendors overdrive.
There's no way to adapt that one out of the Dynaflow, is there?
For what? Gear vendors? Oh, you mean put it in something else?
Yeah.
Not in that one. That one's called a dual path. That one's like an absolute turd.
Although if I think in an A body, you don't really need power steering unless maybe you got the tough wheel. Yeah, that's true.
Well, Eric, do you need me to come get that switch pitch like ASAP? If so, I can come down and get it. I didn't know it was going to be like an immediate thing.
Miata. Yeah, it's going to the shop tomorrow.
Does it run and drive?
No. But the first thing is we're going to get it running. I know I have to pull the motor out. I know I'm going to pull the motor out because it's got a rear main seal leak
Uh-huh.
and the clutch is toast.
Oh, probably because of the rear main seal leak.
I don't know. No, the fingers,
got no-
the fingers are collapsed.
Is it a mechanical clutch or is it a hydraulic?
It's hydraulic.
Okay.
It's hydraulic. But the guy I got it from told me the diaphragm's collapsed.
Okay.
Right. And I have never heard the motor run, but you can see where it's got a rear main seal leak. So I know I'm going to pull the motor out, but before I pull the motor out, I want to get it running just to see what kind of condition it is.
Right.
And that'll tell me if I'm going to rebuild it or just.
Or 215 Buick swap it.
I really want to do a four banger. I mean, I honestly want to do a four banger.
You know what would be really cool if you're going to do a four banger? Try to find like a 2.2 turbo.
No, they're too hard. See, okay, so I do a four banger, right? And I launch the thing, okay? I can go to any pull apart and get a replacement Mazda
4-cylinder.
for nothing.
Yeah.
You hurt a 2.2 or 2.5. Where are you going to get the parts from?
I don't know. Didn't they come in everything all the way up to like 92 or 4 or something like that?
Yeah, and that was how many years ago?
Well, that was a few years ago. So 25 years ago.
Right.
And I'm sure they were not coveted except for your
No.
Omnis,
No.
your
Those-
Omni GLHs.
Those are the things that as soon as they pull to the junkyard, they go straight to the crusher.
When you were running top fuel in the 90s, did you run NHRA stuff?
AHR stuff?
NHRA.
Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because there's a guy had a bunch of them turbo Chryslers. Ran Jack McCormick.
Jack McCormick ran stock and super stock.
Stock Limited
Yeah.
with those front wheel drive
Yeah.
turbocharged cars. Oh God, they were fast then. 1 liter 3-cylinder Geo.
What was that now?
Brian R says, "Hey, how about a 1 liter 3-cylinder Geo?"
They're not common. They're not common. See, if I like I said, if I hurt the Mazda motor, I can go get another one. I can go get 10 of them tomorrow.
Yeah, Andrew, that's why I was saying the GLHs recovered it. They didn't throw them things away. I remember seeing one of those and screwing with one. I'm like, oh, I heard they're pretty fast. That sucker left me in the dust, like, no problem.
Ron Ward is saying, if you're going to build a four banger, try the 2.4 from the Neon or a PT Cruiser. Yeah, except I'm stuck using it in a Neon or a PT Cruiser. I want my Miata, and I'm not going to put a Chrysler motor in the Mazda. That doesn't make any sense.
2.3 liter Ford. Yeah, there was a bazillion of them too.
Those are great motors. I love the 2.3 Ford. First cam job I ever did, I was like 14. I changed the cam on my cousin's Pinto.
Those are in the block, right?
No, it was an overhead.
Push rod?
Overhead cam.
Oh, it's overhead cam? Yeah, well, I rode in a GLH and it pulled like hell. Well, they used to say, what did GLH stand for? Goes like hell. Yeah, and then the GLHS
goes like hell some more.
Yeah, and that's a totally Carroll Shelby thing. LS swapped a Miata. Nah.
Now I want to build a relatively modern four-banger engine. I want to be part of that. He
wants the Miata experience.
I want the Miata experience, and I want to be able to relate to the younger guys that are building imports. It's that simple. You know, I like them. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily. I don't get the whole stance thing. You know, but I like what a lot of these guys are doing with the imports, and so I want to be part of that.
The pre-third gen Hemi. What do you think of the pre-third gen Hemi Mopar 4.7 liter V8?
I am late to the Ricer game, but that's okay. I'm here now.
You don't have any thoughts on a 4.7 liter V8? Isn't that the overhead cam deal?
Oh, that was junk, man. Oh, stay away from that motor. Yeah, that's the motor that they replaced the 318 with. That's the motor that they replaced.
I just remember there would be like, they'd be brand new going down the road, sound like a dump truck because they cracked the exhaust manifold on them.
They had
so bad.
They had the worst timing chain setups. They had those engines, those 4.7s. I have nothing. I've had a few 4.7 experiences, and I have absolutely nothing good to say about them.
I have an 06 Mini Cooper with a blown engine, I want to do a 2.3 liter Ford swap with 5-speed and 8.8 rear.
One word, you're not going to like the price of spark plugs in the Miata, and you're going to dislike adjusting valve lash with lash caps even more. Well, this isn't my first rodeo. You forget, I was a regular mechanic. I mean, I've probably been inside of 50 of those. Well, no, that's an exaggeration. I know I've been inside of Mazda 4 bangers. And
Uncle Tony, what's the best solution for a daily driver 318 LA that needs the valve guides reworked?
Just swap it out for a set of reconditioned heads.
Another set of heads, yeah. Guides are expensive.
Let's see. Brian Brinker. Hey, what's going on, Brian? Everything about drifting the Miata. Seen a couple of drift Miatas. I mean, I don't know how much power it's going to make. I don't know if it's driftable. We'll find out. I'm going to autocross it. I mean, that's really half the purpose. Half the purpose of it is I want a late model car. Not so much that it's a late model car. I love the Miata. I've always had a thing for Brit sports cars, MGs and stuff like that. But I don't like the penalty of the Brit car, the bad electronics, the shitty metal, the just constant algebra. So the Miata reminds me of the 60s. Early 70s Brit cars that I like without any of the hassles. And so that's why I'm drawn to the Miata the way I am.
Max Wedge Dick Dastard.
Thank you, sir.
He says, Tony, I may go racing down your way this summer. I'll stop at your shop with a 63 Max Wedge Savoy and go racing with you guys. $4 smoking signs.
Thanks, Rich.
Well, I wonder where he's going racing at. You know, what track do you normally go to? Buffalo Valley?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever been to 43, which is now Etheridge Motorsports Park?
It's a whole lot. That's a good 2 hours away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've been over there a couple of times, so it's been like an hour and a half. But the Buffalo Valley is only about 45 minutes.
Buffalo, from my house, it's 60 miles.
60. Yeah. But man, I went there one night and that place was packed to the rafters, and it was just testing tube. That's all they had to do up there. Testing tube.
Okay.
Ooh, Nantucky Goon says build a grudge no prep car. Oh man.
Well, the plan is to. I've got that '67 Belvedere in my backyard, and the plan is to build an injected nitro grudge car. But that's down the road. I just cannot do that right now. I'm not capable of.
Yes. The most ridiculous comment of the night. Why don't you get a Ford Thunderbolt 427? Like, is there another expensive car you'd like us to purchase? Anything else? That is one expensive car. You got to realize that car, there were so few of them made that even a reproduction one, just the 427 block, is like giga dollars, right? We're going to need a couple of Biden kickbacks for that.
Missed third. The Miata is like a bike on four wheels. Sounds like I have a thing about them. Had one since '91. Exactly. You know, yeah, missed third. You hit it right on the head. It's like a bike on four wheels. I picked up a couple of old Hondas. I was gonna do for the channel. I was gonna revive an old Honda. And then the Miata came up, and I was like, you know what? I would much rather do the Miata than the Honda, because in my mind, they're interchangeable. The Miata or a motorcycle, it's the same thing. So yeah, you hit it right on the head.
Oh man, Falcon with a Windsor.
That might have been done about 8,000 times. All right, we're getting another. Hey, what do we got to plug here? The AHRA Online.
Yep, AHRAonline.com, and choose your membership. We even have fan-only memberships for $35. $35 for a whole year.
That's so cheap. I don't know how you can afford to do that.
Well, we just give them away almost.
Unbelievable.
Yep. And then you have all of our merch is on eBay under AHRA Official. And you can buy, right now we're having a buy one, get one free on decals and posters. So, and then you go UncleTony'sGarage.com. Get some, definitely, they have all the shirts in the world as long as they're black.
Shirt right there. Yeah. Yep.
And what's cool is, like, I like the saying on the back, right?
Which one is that?
This is the one.
Yep. It's not how you go fast. It's not how fast you go. It's how you go fast. And that's the God's honest truth. That's where the fun is. Bargain at twice the price, Benjamin. You're absolutely right. Bryce Freeman says $35 for the whole year, and you pay me to race. Call it done.
The fan only one doesn't get paid to race on that one. That's just the fan only. But if you buy the regular membership, the $50 membership, which is, it doesn't come with a shirt or anything, but you get paid to race.
Danny Boyd, Uncle Tony, you know how to heel and toe? I do not. That's what you see. That's old dogs, new tricks. I'm an old dog, and I want to learn all these new tricks.
Need Metal says 427 is a retirement plan. Like, yes. Them suckers are like, it's the only place you can get a 427 block now is like that aluminum block that Shelby's reproducing. Is that it? Somebody's reproducing an all aluminum 427 block. And that's the only one you can buy.
Okay.
I haven't seen a cast iron one.
I don't know. Dove makes them, right?
Do they?
Yeah.
I know they were doing the heads for a while. I didn't know they were doing the blocks. I tell you what, if we got time this year, have you ever been to the Cruising the Coast event?
I have not.
Oh
Which
my
coast?
God. Mississippi Gulf Coast. Starts in Biloxi, goes all the way down to like Diamond Head where the Hurricane Katrina and stuff came ashore. Mm-hmm. But it goes down Highway 90. But down there at the Coliseum in Gulfport, they used to have a car show and swap meet. And there was a guy there every year. This guy would show up and he would buy out like estate auctions. Mm-hmm. And this dude always had the coolest stuff. He had like cross ram Mopar manifolds and Hemi heads and you like unported cast stuff. He always had the coolest crap. And I every year go down there, see what he had. And he would come up with a lot of 427 stuff.
Andrew Button says, yeah, Dove Engineering. Yeah, I knew it was Dove. Okay.
Okay, so Mantucky Goon says, I've got an 88 IROC that's going to be a street car. Got a 4.9-inch turbo 400 spawn suspension.
I don't know what spawn suspension is.
I'm assuming it's shocks. Detroit speed axles and a lot more good stuff. I know you're mostly a Mopar guy, but do I go with a 420 or with the LS?
LS.
Small block Chevy or big block Chevy?
Yeah, unless you're talking about a 60s car that you want to keep, or a 60s, 70s car you want to keep in the spirit of the 60s and 70s, there's no reason not to go in an LS. So yeah, I would absolutely LS it.
That engine I really believe has more in line with the Buick V6.
I know you said we will do something about that.
How about a 3.9 liter V6 build? Mopar used to sell 340 style heads for them.
Everything else is very hard to come by. I thought about that. I honestly thought about that. I thought about doing a turbocharged V6. My plan slightly down the road is to do a turbocharged 170 slant. But I did think about, I was throwing around the idea of doing a 3.9. I have one at my disposal, a 3.9 Magnum. I could have it. I just need to go pick it up. I just don't know if I want to commit to that motor or not. Okay.
Oh, LS has more in common with small block Ford. Nah.
No. The way of the gearhead monk. How could we forget that, Zero? That was your design, your idea.
Oh, what's that?
We have a shirt that just says the way of the gearhead monk.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to go back and get whatever that person said earlier and put it on a shirt.
What was that?
Oh, I said that would be badass on a shirt. I don't
know, but we're going to be coming up with a whole new line of merch, and we'll have it all at the shop.
I saw a really badass shirt the other day. It was so cool. It had an engine hanging from an engine hoist,
right?
And it says "Get hooked," right? And I was like, man, those guys got it figured out. That's badass.
Austin Mason, have you ever had a face-to-face experience with an engine built by Keith Black himself? And was he the best engine builder ever, in your opinion? Keith Black stopped building engines in 1973, 1974. At that point, it was all, well, I shouldn't say that, drag cars. At that point, he was just selling, there was no more building those engines. He was just selling the parts for them. So it was the blocks and the cranks and the componentry. So once everything went to all aluminum with the Hemi motors, right?
Yeah.
There was no more engine builder, right, involved in that. It was just they'd sell you the parts and you craft them together in your own ways. So no, I've never. I talked with Keith Black several times. I used Keith Black stuff extensively and almost exclusively back then. But no, you talk about like the Black Magic, the 392 Chryslers that he would do, and the earlier 420. He stuck with the 392 for a long time.
I know that. I was actually just going to say that because I think the thing that really put him out of business was the 426 development, right? Because he was a staunch 392 guy, right? Yep. Well, not really out of business, but the reason why he stopped building top fuel motors was they shifted to that 426.
Well, everything had gone aluminum,
right?
Right. And by 1975, everything was aluminum. And there was no more need for an engine builder. But if you go back to the 60s, actually Ed Pink was doing the 426s. He was doing the Fords, the camera motors, and he was really the first guy to do the 426s.
Ed Pink,
like 1969, 1968, 1969. He was the first guy to really embrace the 426.
Now that'd be a cool shirt. Keith Black matters.
Yeah.
Hey Eric, I'll come get that switch pitch 400. Just you got my phone number. Give me a call. We'll work it out. Pink lives matter too.
He was Ed Pink is probably one of the most underrated, unsung heroes in the whole Nitro thing. He really.
Did you ever meet Doug Thorley?
I did not.
Yeah, Doug Thorley's had the Chevy Too Much, right? That was him. He just died recently.
Doug Tetters, yeah.
That car ended up in my hometown.
Did it?
Yeah, it sat in the field for, I'll bet 10 years or longer. But it was driven on the street. Somebody licensed it and drove it around.
Ben Trees are having this big YouTuber call out happening April 10th at the Texas Motorplex. I won't be able to make that. And I think it's in Dallas, Texas with Demonology and Donk Master. Donk Master, that thing is great. My buddy, my lawyer, Breon, just inherited a Donk, a 73 Caprice convertible. So we're actually going to be rolling in one of those things this summer. Didn't Ed Pink and Keith Black always have a rivalry? Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad rivalry. It was a healthy rivalry.
I think it'd just be like an engine builder rivalry.
Yeah.
Right? You rolling up that good kush? No. This is the Bugler. Newer car. Uncle Tony, if you want a newer car and to tinker with
newer four-cylinder, give you Dad's old 91 strip set. I've already got the Miata.
The four-cylinder I always wanted to do. I always thought the quad 4 was a bad son of a bitch when it was new. I remember that thing making like 205 horse, and the Mustang was 225, right? And I always wanted to do one of those with a turbo on it and like a 5-speed behind it.
I'm sure it would rock. I mean, they were super advanced in the day.
Oh yeah,
when they came out.
Yeah,
but they're only like middle of the pack now.
Oh yeah, now they'd be like. I actually wanted to do like a street ride, like a 23 T bucket with something like that. Like a dual lever cam quad 4 would be badass. I just remember when they were new and man, they were mean. But that's when V8s were pretty lame. So
let's see. Cigarette rolling contest. Donks and the trucks with Carolina squat, I'll never understand. Both look like pure shit. Oh, the Carolina squat is weird. You know how you look at it, right? The donk, I look at the donk as the chopped Merc of the current era. You know what I mean? They both kind of like have that same place where they have no real function. It's just a style thing. And I don't know.
it was all about the look, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the lead sleds were known for. I think some of them donks are just like over the top. Like, why the hell would you paint Lucky Charms on your car?
They do some weird stuff.
I just never got that. Now I see the donk racing is starting to take off now. Yeah. And some guy got hurt last year, I guess, or 2 years ago, up at Byron from one of them donks. But man, could you imagine what it takes to make one of those 24 or 26-inch steel wheels, or even in aluminum? That's still a hell of a lot of wheel to make them run good. God, this is some rotating mass like mad.
Olive says the only thing about donks is I'm like, you realize they make me smile because I think the cat in the hat is in there, right? All right, guys. I think we gotta call. I'm tired. We're going this early, guys. We're gonna plug it in. We're gonna plug it in. We're gonna pull a plug. Moving up on the 2-hour mark. AHRAonline.com.
Yep, for memberships, and then AHRA official on eBay to collect some merch.
Yes.
And then UncleTony'sGarage.com. Get yourself some black shirts.
Yes.
And some hats and some decals. Olds 455 versus Buick 455. What's the difference? Everything. Everything is a difference. Matter of fact, we looked it up not too long ago, and even the main bearings are different sizes. So
yeah, utterly, completely.
Yeah, the Buick is more in common with the Pontiac 455 than the Oldsmobile 455.
Buick has more in common with the big black Chrysler than it has with any of the GM motors.
Yeah, that is true.
So, Ahmad's, John, right? John Wilburn. And John Wilburn's got his channel. Go over there and check out everything he's got going on there. Fubar, Aaron, Zero. You guys are awesome. Thank you again. Always, you know, they're so dedicated.
I know.
They're so dedicated. Every time I pop up a live, it doesn't matter where it is, or it's just out of the blue. Boom, we pop up, and you know.
Those guys are modding?
And those guys are modding. They just
How do they know?
I don't know, but that's real love. I mean,
do they get notifications?
Yeah, they get notifications.
Because I never get a notification when you go live.
I'm just saying that is real love. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like I don't ask them to do this. Yeah. You know, I don't, and they just boom, they just pop up. You know what I mean? It's like that's how do you you know what I mean? Thank you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate this. So, but anyway, guys, that's it. Right here. Tomorrow night, we're going live with Dan from D&D Speed Shop. So I don't know if you guys follow. You follow the D&D Speed Shop?
I've never heard.
Those guys are great. They're up in Canada. It's a guy and his girlfriend, and they build. They do a lot of 55 Chevy, 57 Chevy stuff. They do, but it's like they got a garage about this size, and they just craft stuff. And he's doing a Mopar right now.
That's like my favorite car. I don't know if I ever told you that.
What's that?
The 55 Chevy.
I like the 55s. I'm not crazy about the 57s.
I think the 55 is like the best looking car ever made.
So, but anyway, happy birthday, Amanda, right? And so it's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We'll be on with D&D Speed Shop. So until then, and until next
Wednesday, yeah.
Dallas, I think we're gonna do the next one at my shop.
Yeah, we're gonna do it at the new shop?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
So that's it, guys. We're out of here. Thank you, everybody.
All right. See you next week.
Good night. Done.